Hello, industry explorers. Welcome to our special live stream where we are going to talk about the hashtag mechanics life. We have a very diverse panel here with us today. And just to give you a little brief synopsis of what we've got for you today, we've got Nicole Porter, who is a diesel mechanic. We've got Amy Mulligan, who is a Airframe and Powerplant mechanic. We've got Nicole Denisse, who is an automotive technician, and Liz Prestalla, who is a NASCAR tire specialist. Yeah, when I think mechanic, I often think, oh, into the hood of my car. But it's so much more than that. And we're going to learn about each other and about each other's careers, the challenges, what we love about our jobs. So without further ado, I have to first thank our sponsor, who is Torq'd Clothing. Torq'd Clothing is workwear designed for women by women. You can visit www.torqdclothing.com. So thank you, Torq'd Clothing, for sponsoring today's live stream. And let us meet the panelists, starting with Nicole Porter. How are you doing today, Nicole?
I'm pretty good.
Nice. So in a minute, tell us about yourself.
I'm a heavy truck mechanic. Diesel mechanics cover a lot of different things. I specifically work on heavy trucks, Class 8 trucks. I grew up restoring cars with my dad and thought maybe I wanted to go into automotive, but I got a job as a shop assistant working for PACCAR, who owns Peterbilt in Kenworth, when I was in college, and decided that this is what I wanted to do.
Love it. Perfect. Under a minute. Amy, tell us about yourself.
Hey, I'm an airframe and powerplant mechanic. I work on experimental aircraft for a living, but I also work on boats, cars, motorcycles, pretty much anything that has an engine is fun.
I can't wait to get into it. I'm already preparing my follow-up questions for you guys. Nicole Denisse, tell us about yourself.
So I started as a filmmaker, but halfway through decided that I actually like mechanics more. So decided to go to school for mechanics.
What inspired that decision?
I guess I've always had an obsession with cars since I was a kid, but I also had an obsession with movies and how they were made. So I started by theater, and then I started moving up to film and behind the camera. And then halfway through, I got my car, and I actually bought my dream car when I was 19. And that's when I said, you know what? I kind of don't want to do this anymore. I just want to go work on cars.
What was your dream car?
Camaro.
Camaro. Beautiful. Liz Prestalla, tell us about yourself.
I'm a NASCAR mechanic in the Cup Series. I do tires mostly, but I'm also a full-time mechanic. I used to go over the wall, do a little bit of everything on the race cars. I can do everything from bodywork to decals to interior to the engine stuff to the suspension. So I pretty much cover all aspects of the race car, and I also work in Xfinity and truck occasionally.
That's amazing. So how was your race yesterday?
We finished 21st. It was a lot of long green runs. So there was a lot of pitting under green, but overall it went smooth. The car was okay. There's a couple things we were working on, but the track was a lot cooler than normal when we go there. So there was a lot of adjusting to the temperatures and making sure the car wasn't too loose or too tight, and he didn't wreck. That was a key thing.
Nice. I'm glad it went well. So, Nicole, let's get back to you. And if you guys are tuning in for the first time, welcome. We're here to talk about badass female mechanics, and we're going to learn all about the different roles that you can have as a mechanic. So, Nicole, talk to us about what it means to be a diesel mechanic. What is a typical day in the life or project in the life of a diesel mechanic?
So like I said, I'm specifically more on the heavy.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I'm specifically more on like the heavy truck Class 8 side. There's a lot with ag equipment and construction equipment and mining and all that kind of stuff that you can do with diesel mechanics. But as far as trucks, I currently work for a fleet. We do a lot of preventative maintenance stuff where with like oil changes, inspections, making sure that the truck is safe. That's a big thing with Class 8 trucks. You've got 80,000 pounds going 65, 70 miles an hour. We want to make sure that we're safe and we're not going to cause an accident out on the road. We do engine work, transmission work. We've got heavy trailers, refrigerated trailers, so we deal with refrigeration. I have a 608 certification, which is universal refrigeration, as well as
Oh, I was
other
going to say,
types.
I have a silly question about the refrigeration. Does that translate well to HVAC? Like, have you looked into a career in HVAC? Have you looked at the transferable skills since you mentioned your refrigeration certification? It's a silly question, but for me, I don't know. I am those who don't know.
So there's two different, for certifications, it's a 609, which is automotive refrigeration, and then there's a 608, which is a universal refrigeration certification. The 608 covers all types of refrigeration, which would be HVAC. I don't necessarily have the training for it, but I do have the certification. So if I wanted to go do the training and learn HVAC and do residential or commercial HVAC stuff, then I could. I have the certification for it.
I really love
sorry.
Oh no, I love transferable skills. Go ahead.
What we do is actually refrigerated trailers. It's basically kind of like the refrigerator in your house, except for that it's a 53-foot trailer and it has a diesel engine that runs the refrigeration system.
I think that is all very, very fascinating. We're going to get into more detail. Amy, talk to us about what it means to be an A&P mechanic, airframe and powerplant mechanic.
Oh, that's a loaded question because it depends on what you're doing. In my case, I work on experimental for a company called Scaled Composites. As you can imagine, we do composite aircraft. But I mean, an A&P can vary so many different ways depending on what they work on or what area they're in. So I'll just talk about what I do because that's what I know best. I build an aircraft out of composites. So you make a mold and then you put composite plies, whether it's glass or carbon fiber, and basically arts and crafts it together and make a nice, beautiful aircraft and drop an engine in it. And there's some hydraulics, some fuel lines, a little bit of electrical, and go for it.
So you mentioned before we went live that your husband used to be a wind turbine technician?
He did. Now he's an aircraft electrician.
Did you guys, since you do the composites, did you guys ever have a conversation about blade repair?
Yeah, actually, they were talking about doing it a while back, but I don't know. It was a lot of work. It's out in the middle of the sun. I have an air-conditioned building. I'm spoiled now.
Yeah. There you go. Turbine technicians, if you're tired of blade work, what's the certification that you do to get the composite, to be able to do the composites that you work with?
You don't need any certification to be able to do composites. It's all on the job experience.
Even better.
Yeah. I didn't even have a certification till this year. I've been working without one because I didn't need one. I was offered if I got a A&P, which is an airframe and powerplant certificate, I could be a crew chief on one of our aircraft, but that was the last requirement I needed. I have 11 years experience with the company doing everything. Not that I'm perfect at it all, but I can do it all. It was just an opportunity I couldn't say no to. So face down in the books, and I actually took a test. I did not go to school. I did it all on the job training. I asked people around my work, and my boss, Rick Aldrich, saved my butt. He helped me out after hours and just kind of muscled through all the information I needed to learn and not take these tests. I mean, it was insane. It's 3 written tests and then an oral and practical to do. And each test of the writtens alone were anywhere like 120 or 150 questions out of 700 possibilities. So It's
Yeah, and to have to take 3 separate tests
yeah.
in addition to an oral and did you say an in-field exam?
Yeah, it's oral and practical.
Yeah.
So basically, you sit there, you answer their questions that they give you, and then you have to go show them that you know how to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean there are certainly different certifications that require the oral and the in-field and a test, or certifications that require a 150 question test to be answered, but not the oral, not the in-field. To do all of those things and 3 separate tests still wildly impressive. We should talk about study tips. You probably have excellent study tips. For those who are tuning in and watching, welcome. We are here to talk about badass female mechanics, and we're learning all about what it's like to be a mechanic and at different capacities. There are different career paths that you can have as a mechanic. We talked about diesel mechanics. We talked about airframe and power plant. I always like my brain goes because I'm like, that's a lot. It's like, so it's also impressive to me. I don't do any of this stuff. I just host. I'm just here to host and facilitate conversation. Airframe and power plant mechanic. And now we're going to talk about being an automotive technician. Nicole, Denisse, tell us about a day in the life of an automotive tech.
So I've been through at least 2 shops in the 2-3 years that I've been doing this. And there's a lot of cussing and a lot of throwing tools. That is the daily. I guess that's the only way that we control our anger. But there is a lot of different things every day. Some days you could get something as simple as an oil change and you're like, this is all I'm going to get. And then there's another day where you're going to get full suspension and you're like, this is what I'm going to get. Because it's a lot and it's a difference. But I guess the being different every single day is what drives me to do it the next day.
Yes, badass women from Facebook user. This is one heck of a panel. Y'all are pretty amazing. Thank you, guys. Thank you. See, Nicole, I told you, you were going to be great. They're already clapping for you. And guys, if you have questions for our panelists, feel free to put them in the comments and we'll take care of it. We'll answer it live. Sorry, Nicole, I totally cut you off. Tell me more, girl. Tell me more.
I mean, what do you want to know? Because there's a lot. I could speak all day.
Okay, so in 2 minutes, we talked about throwing tools, but you're also a commercial manager. So a big part of your job is not only having the technical knowledge, but being able to speak to customers.
Yeah, I guess on my day-to-day job, the fact that I have knowledge, sometimes it makes the job easier and sometimes it makes it a little bit harder. Because sometimes I get customers calling me on the phone asking me for a part that they at least expect me to not know what it is. And then to me, something so simple as an EGR valve. And maybe I just said that now, and there's a lot of people watching that are like, what is that? And is it in my car? And yes, it's completely okay to not know what it is, but I know what it is. And if you give me an example of, oh, I need an exhaust gas recirculation valve. Okay, EGR valve. And they'll stay on the phone like, oh, she. Like, yes, I know. It's not so hard. And I guess even the fact that I'm not wrenching every day for now, I still get the entire time the she's a girl, she might not know.
Yeah. Do you ever like try to pop in, put some time into a shop just to make sure you're sharp with your actual hands-on skills?
Yeah. I mostly just do it on my own. I try to check my car at least once a week.
Nice.
And even if I checked it last week and it had nothing and a sway bar link is not going to go back it's not going to go bad in a week, I'm still going to check it next week because I like making sure that I'm checking everything just in case I get a customer's car, I don't miss anything. So it's just repetitive stuff.
So in 1 minute, tell me what your opinion is on electric vehicles.
No. And that's just my opinion. They're not bad. Honestly, at some point, I wish I had a Tesla just because they're so cheap to drive. And I drive an hour to go to work and an hour to come back. And it would be nice if I could just fill up my car with $3. But turning on my car every morning, and I'm sorry to my neighbors, It's very loud, but that's what I like. So if I don't have no vroom sound, I cannot drive it.
Do you have a custom exhaust on your vehicle?
Yeah, so
Nice.
I have, it's basically straight piped. I have headers, I have no resonators, I have some aftermarket muffler that it came with that it's no muffling sound at all. It's just pure straight pipe. It's plastic.
Wow. Nice, nice. I love it. Thank you, Liz, NASCAR tire specialist and owner of today's sponsor, Torq'd, workwear for women, designed by women for women. Yes, I feel like I nailed that. I will be your spokesperson now. Anyway, Nicole. Sorry, not Nicole. Liz. I'm going to just start yelling at you guys now. Liz, tell us about being a NASCAR tire specialist. And you had a race yesterday.
Yeah. So at the track, I do everything involving the tires. I put them in sets, I measure them, I do the pressures, I move them around. When you see all those tire people running around with carts, that's me. The tires weigh on average 65 pounds a piece, and we stack them 4 high. I'm about 5'4.5", so sometimes they're stacked over my head, and I just drop them down and I dig. And I'm one of the few female tire specialists in all of NASCAR. There's only about 4 of us that do it because it's not an easy job. So it's very different. And then at the shop, I'm also a full-time mechanic. I do everything from fabrication, suspension, interior. So I help put the seats in the car that keep the driver safe. I do the fire bottles. I try to avoid the electrical because we have a lot of computers in it and they're very expensive because they're custom to the race cars. I also help with the engines, pretty much anything that involves that race car. I usually will have my hands on at some point throughout the week, along with doing some of the computer work on the tire side because we keep everything in a file on the computer so that it's all digitally accessed. So like I can go on my phone and pull up what we ran at Darlington 2 years ago.
Why would you keep records that are 2 years old? I mean, is part of that the process of looking at like racing stats? How did we do on this day? And like if we're going to be a fraction of a percent better today than we were yesterday, let's look at all the stats. What tires did we have 2 years ago? Like is that kind of the process? Why would you keep records that old?
Like we have compounds that we run at each track, and they're Goodyear specific chemical compounds. So we can look back and be like, well, what tire compound did we run last year? What was the weather like that day? Was it a green track? Was it rubbered down? Did we get delayed by rain? So we can look back and we can find a recent race that had similar racing conditions to what we're currently facing. And we can be like, all right, where do we run our air pressure? How do we perform with that? And so we use it more of a judgment call to help us decide what air pressures we might need, or if we need to be watching out for tire wear or how bad the tires fall off. Because Goodyear will tell us, they'll be like, all right, you're in this code, but it reacts very similar to the code you ran here last year, but it's a slightly different compound.
Yeah, there's a lot more to it than I ever thought that I could ever imagine. Go, Nicole. Thank you. Man. Thank you so much, Liz, for sharing that with us. And also, before we went live, you mentioned nothing exploded yesterday. So overall, good day yesterday. That's always good. So moving into our next section, we just learned about each of our panelists. We learned about Nicole Porter, Amy Mulligan, Nicole Denisse, Liz Prestalla. For those of you who are tuning in, like for the first time, Nicole Porter is a diesel mechanic. Amy Mulligan is an airframe and Powerplant mechanic. Nicole Denisse is a commercial manager at AutoZone and an automotive mechanic. And Liz Prestalla is a NASCAR tire specialist and owner of Torq'd clothing, workwear designed for women by women. Diverse panel, like super diverse. Yet you are all in the umbrella of being a mechanic. So let's talk about mechanics and mechanics life. I'm going to facilitate this conversation, but like if y'all have something to say, just unmic and just talk to each other, because I want to know about the similarities and differences between what you guys do, right? Because you're all mechanics, but at the same time, you guys each do something so different. So let's chat about some of those similarities and differences. And if you guys in the audience have a question, use the comments. We will answer those questions live. I love showing comments on screen. I imagine as a female mechanic, in spite of having the knowledge and experience, you may be constantly underestimated. How do y'all overcome that frustration, especially as a technician? Great question. We're going to answer that. That's coming later in the live stream. So before we get to the challenges and how do we overcome frustration, let's first talk about similarities and differences. So who wants to go first? Like, what did you kind of learn about each other just now?
I'll go first. Like, for me, I'm in such a different bubble because all I do is build race cars every day. So I don't do a lot on the diesel side. Like, we have tractors that we pull our haulers with, but I don't do much with them besides climb in and out of them if I need something. And like, they use a lot different tools than me. I use a lot of standard size. 90% of our cars standard wrenches. We use a lot of Allens. We use small bolts like 5/16 wrenches, 1/4 inch wrenches, and that's not something that they would use because diesel engines are a lot bigger. Same thing with airplanes is they're not exactly race car size. That we try to make our cars as light as humanly possible because we want them to go 200 miles an hour.
Okay, Nicole and Amy. So Nicole, you're the diesel mechanic. What is a standard tool size for you? And then Amy, I gotta know on the airframe and Powerplant side next.
I mean, it really depends on what I'm working on. I have everything from like yesterday I was working on a transmission connector that had a 4mm Allen in it, or I handed my buddy my 2 3/16" socket for taking an axle nut off. So it varies. We definitely do have, larger sizes than the automotive side for everything pretty much. It's like working on cars, but everything's heavier. We do worry about weight actually. Basically, the amount that we can legally haul is reduced by the amount that the truck weighs. So weight is an issue not for speed, but for the amount of product that we can haul.
Okay, Nicole, opinion on electric semi-trucks that Elon is trying to make. What?
So the fleet that I currently work for runs a large percentage of natural gas trucks as a greener alternative to diesel. One of the biggest problems that we have currently is availability of fuel, the infrastructure to actually be able to. We run a lot of local stuff. All of our trucks are day cabs. They don't go too far. But to be able to run a semi across the country and not have the availability of fuel is a huge problem. I see that being a problem with electric cars as well. I just don't think that we currently have the infrastructure for it. I think that it will come. I see that as being part of our future and something that we're all going to have to deal with and learn. But I don't think that it's going to be anytime soon.
Gotcha. Amy, let's talk about some standard tools for you.
So I work in small aircraft, and I think you'll be surprised. Most of the stuff I have is pretty general. It's all standard stuff generally. Every now and then we'll get a piece of avionics that's metric. We'll have to, run around the shop, see who has metric tools. But I think the biggest wrench I have is like 1 1/8 inch, and that's for fuel lines or something like that. Weight is a huge thing in aircraft because same thing. The more weight the aircraft weighs, the less weight the aircraft can carry, which is fuel and whatever else it needs to carry, bodies and such. You'll be surprised, like in the race world, it's very similar to aircraft because we have to look at all parameters. We're constantly watching, especially in flight tests, which is what I'm in. We watch everything that's happening, how the engine's behaving, where it's running fuel wise, temperature wise, how the temperature is going in the inlet, how the temperature is coming out the exhaust. We watch our tires, make sure we don't blow tires when landing, from grabbing brakes, which is a huge problem. Safety wire, everything. It's a safety wire fest in aircraft for sure. yeah, I mean, you'll be surprised how similar small aircraft and flight test is to just running race cars. I mean, I've ran my street bike on the track, and it was actually pretty easy to track my bike because I had all the tools I needed to be able to get it ready to go on the track.
Nice. So I'm hearing a common theme so far is that weight management is a big part of any mechanic's job. Nicole. All right. Nicole's hammers, Nicole Porter, Diesel Tech. Her hammers are a lot bigger than those on the automotive side. So let's talk to Nicole Denisse, Automotive Tech. Talk to us about some of your standard tools.
10mm socket is my life. Yeah, I tend to lose it every single time. It's normal. But
why the 10 mil? I don't, I'm not a mechanic, but it's always the 10 mil. I'm on the Tower Climbing Grease Monkeys group on Facebook. Those are the wind turbine techs. Same thing. It's always the 10 mil.
I don't know why we lose them. I guess I don't only lose the 10 mil. I tend to lose every single tool and then try to search under the car. Like just trying to touch, oh, I found it. And find out that it's not the 10 and I needed the 10, or it's not the 12 that I needed, but it's usually just 10, 12, 14, 16 sometimes. You're usually 22 for the lug nuts. Like it's all standard sizes, honestly.
And all metric?
Yes.
All metric.
Yes. Depending on what brand is the car, like for example, BMWs, any Euro is going to have a wheel stud instead of a lug nut. And they also don't use a lot of metric. But a lot of American cars, they do have metric sizes.
Gotcha. So we got a question. How did you get to NASCAR since you were born in Lake Tahoe, California? Hi, Liz. Is that your mom?
Yep, that's my mom.
Yeah, I know a mom. I know a supportive mom when I see one. Mine also comments on my live streams. I'm surprised she hasn't commented yet. Mom, where are you at? Why aren't you watching me? What are you doing, Mom? Anyway, so Liz. We're all named Nicole on this live stream. Actually, we're all going to change our names to Nicole. Anyway, Liz, how did you get into NASCAR?
I always watched it with my family growing up. Like my first race was 12 years old. We went to Fontana in Southern California. We watched the race there and I fell in love. And then we went to Vegas 2-3 times a year. Always watched the races. And then about the time I started driving, I was like, I want to work in NASCAR. And my dad was like, are you sure? Like, if you really want to, we'll look into it. Well, a couple months after I turned 18, graduated high school, we moved me from Lake Tahoe all the way to North Carolina. It's like 2,200 miles by myself. Shipped my car, shipped all my boxes of stuff. And I was here for about 4 years just working at Quick Lube dealerships before I got an internship at a truck team and then worked my way up from there.
Nice. Nicole Denisse, how did you get into your career? You mentioned that you were in filmmaking school, decided that you didn't want to do that anymore. But how did you get your first job as a mechanic or technician?
So, it's really funny. I wasn't expecting it at all. I went to a shop to get an oil change, and the owner didn't speak a lot of English and wanted a service advisor who was bilingual. And I'm like, I speak English and Spanish, and I don't have a job. So if you need me, I'll come. And that's how I started working in a shop. I was actually a service advisor, but every single time that I could be outside watching what they were doing, I was. And actually at that shop, I had a guy who, to this day, if I need something, I can text him, call him, and he'll answer the question that I have. And if you're watching this, you're the best. You've trained me my entire life, and I swear you're my mentor my entire life. You're stuck with me forever. But that's basically how I started. I don't have a set point where I said, F it, I'm doing this. It was progressive from buying the car to working on the car myself to realizing that I like it more, and that all the years back where Hot Wheels were my life, I could actually turn that into a career where I was actually happy and not saying like, I like it, but I'm not that happy in it. And that's how I went to it.
My favorite part of your story is how you used a skill that you already had to get yourself from point A to point B, and then from point B to point C and D and E and F, because we all have to start somewhere. Ah, my phone, stop it. I set an alarm to make sure that we're on schedule. I hope you all didn't just hear it go, bah, 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 but now I'm repeating it. Anyway, what I love about your story, we all start somewhere, okay? And one of the common jokes that college students especially will tell is how, oh, this is an entry-level position, but you have to have 5 years of experience to get there. Or how am I supposed to do that? But, you know, it's all about utilizing your skill set that you already have and basically creating those opportunities for yourself. So, Nicole, bravo to you for that. Amy, how did you get started in, you used to work at a hot rod shop. That's kind of how you got started. And then you eventually became an AMP crew chief.
Yeah, I went to college for automotive collision repair. I also at the same time got a job at a hot rod shop, which is really my dream end goal anyways. I realized that I was learning more and making more not going to college. So I dropped out.
Wait. How did you get started in the hot rod shop? Because that just sounds like cool. It sounds amazing.
So I knew one of my friends that I went to high school with knew a guy who worked at a hot rod shop, and asked him if he would give me a shot, just to be his spare hand around the shop, clean up, whatever he needed. This guy to this day, I still talk to him, and he's still a really, really good friend. And he taught me so much about metalworking and forming and welding, doing body work, which he knows I'm horrible at, so don't tell anybody. But it was one of the best opportunities that I ever had, and I don't hate it. It made me realize though that I love cars and I love working on cars, but I don't want to do it for a living, because you lose that love after working hours and hours and weekends and nights trying to get stuff done. The aerospace came up. One of the guys who brought his car into our shop offered to get me a job at this company, because the owner of the business I was working at, the hot rod shop, he moved to South Carolina, and he wanted to give me like a push before he took off. And they got me in there. I was a composite fabricator, and I just from there on, I just kind of sprouted in every direction I could, learning how to do the composite side and trying to do the fuel, doing some hydraulics, then start doing assembly. I got to pull some engines off of jet. That was really cool. And then put them back on again because they liked it, that I did such a good job. And just more opportunities kept pulling out, and I just kept saying, hey, yeah, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm going to figure it out. It was a lot of fun.
I love the networking that you did there. It all starts with like the people that we know. Who are the people in like your immediate circles who have these opportunities, and you don't have to be a student in high school and like write a letter to Bill Gates, or write a letter to Bob Iger, or write a letter to insert CEO title. Like it doesn't have to be far-fetched when you're doing your job search or figuring out what you want to do as a career. You started with Amy, you started with a friend of yours who happened to work at a hot rod shop. And then one of your clients was in the aerospace industry. And then that's how you made that shift there. So, I mean, I love that. I think that's like when people talk about career advice, the networking, the transferable skills, the having a passion and the curiosity and the risk taking that Liz had to do. I mean, bravo to all of you. Nicole Porter, now you got to tell us, like, how did you get into, I mean, I know you went to school.
I did.
How did you get your very first job?
It was work. I can tell you that. I started out actually right out of high school working at AutoZone. I thought I wanted to do automotive. I did. I hated AutoZone. It was the worst 4 years of my life. I hated that place. I'm sorry, Nicole, but I'm not a people person. I hated it. I applied at like every freaking quick lube shop around where I lived. got some interesting answers when I asked for applications. One of them was, we're looking for a mechanic, not a receptionist. Cool, dude, I don't want to work for you. And so I found an opening for a shop assistant, actually. And that started out as detailing trucks for a used truck center. And that's where I started. And it got to the point where the shop was so busy, I said, hey, I can change batteries. I can change oil, you know. You just have to show me what needs to be done on this, because I'm not real familiar with semi-trucks, but I can do it. The time I was in college, I was going to school for engineering, and school was not my thing. I also hated school. I was on academic probation when I quit and decided to go to Laramie, Wyoming, and I went to WyoTech and graduated with a 4.0. So
Heck yes. Okay, what I love about your story, because I'm telling everybody what I love about their stories. Nicole, what I love about your story is you tried something. You hated it, but you tried it. So then you knew that's not what you wanted to do. And I think a lot of students are they stress out so much about picking the right major or picking the right school. And it's like, you know what? You're going to change your mind. It's okay to not have all the answers. Just go try something. And if you hate it, move on to something else. And that's exactly what you did. And then the other part that I love about your story is your openness to learn new things, your openness to try and learn new things. And everybody on this panel, that's a theme that I'm hearing from each of your stories. So another bravo to all of you. Well, a couple comments came in. Leverage your network. Great advice. Thank you, Learnings and Missteps. Nicole, the LP trucks run clean. You don't have to deal deaf and cats and suit filters. Okay, I'm going to say, is that you don't have to deal with? And I don't know what deaf and cats and suit filters are. So Nicole, take it away.
So they're natural gas. They're not LP. It's a little bit different. We run both compressed natural gas and liquid natural gas. They do have a catalyst on them like a gas engine, a regular gas engine, but the DPF, which is the soot filters, and the DEF for my mind just went blank, NOx conversion, oxides of nitrogen, we don't have on those. They don't have the same emissions that a diesel engine has. So the emissions controls are a little bit different. We still have EGR, and we still have a catalyst for unburnt hydrocarbons, but it's different.
David, I hope that answered your question. Rock Drake says, hi, Nicole. Hello, Nicole. We're all of our names are Nicole on this panel.
We're talking about.
We are all Nicole today, so we all say hello. Anyway, all right, let's move on. Let's move on to the challenges. And Nicole Porter, we'll start with you. What are some of the challenges that you face at your job?
One of the biggest things is getting information from drivers. It is, am I getting a complaint or am I getting what they think the problem is? And if I get what they think the problem is, that doesn't help me as much. Or if I get something vague, like my truck makes a noise. Help me out here. What kind of noise? Where's the noise coming from? You know, that kind of thing. That's a challenge. I don't know
that people's impressions of the noises would help me.
I feel like I need to hear impressions of the noises because I need entertainment. But
yes.
It's just like vague complaints are really frustrating. But also one of the biggest things is diagnostics. So trying to actually take that information and figure out what is wrong with the truck and be accurate about it is one of the biggest things, is being accurate, but also not spending 5 days trying to figure it out. Sometimes it takes that long, but.
Quick fire, rapid round question. Everybody has to answer. What's the weirdest noise a client has come to you with whatever their problems were? Just a weird noise. Nicole, go.
Oh man, that's a
rapid round, quick fire.
I know.
Don't think about it, just do it.
Rattling noises are probably the worst.
Do it.
And when they try to make them, I can't. or squeaking like it's going.
Okay, I'll
Great.
take it. Amy.
I had a pilot complain that there was something going right behind his head. It ended up being on the fuselage. I don't know how the heck he heard that, but he had good ears.
I could not. Yeah, I'm gonna ask my brother-in-law if he's ever had a sound behind his head. Thank you. Okay, Nicole Denisse, go. Weirdest sound.
I guess the funniest one that I've ever got is a guy that said, well, whenever I go on my car goes, and I'm like, driving, stopping.
Did it turn out that it was the brakes?
I thought it was the brakes. It wasn't. It wasn't.
See?
he had something caught on his like rear view mirror, not his rear view mirror, his side view mirror. It was making a noise with the wind. So whenever he was stopped,
okay.
he would hear it, but whenever he was driving, he would hear it. And it was something stuck in between his side view mirror and his door.
Gotcha. Okay, Liz, rapid fire, go. Weirdest noise.
Probably when one of the drivers was like, I heard a ducka noise. We're like, what? He was like, a ducka. And something got stuck like up in the caliper, and that's what the noise was.
Oh my gosh. I can't stop laughing. Hi, Nicole Denisse. This is your family from Texas. Love you and very proud of you. Oh, is that your sister or cousin?
No, that's my aunt.
It's your aunt.
Yeah.
Got it. See, I know a supportive mother when I see one, and I know that this is not a mother. Don't ask me how I know. I don't know. I really don't.
They're all my moms. I
You're
have
all
aunts, but they're all my moms.
Every supportive person today is a supportive mother to us, and we are all Nicole. And if you're tuning in for the first time right now, that was an inside joke. You're going to have to catch the replay at this point. Anyway, all right, Amy, the question is challenges that you face in your career.
Oh man, so many. I think being on flight tests, the biggest challenge, right, is make sure everybody and everything is safe. When you have a jet fly above somebody, I mean, not only can you injure a pilot, you can injure the people on the runway, and you can injure anybody that jet crashes into. So every time we send a jet out, it's a sweating bullet. Like, okay, I know I did everything right. I know I double checked, triple checked, quadruple checked everything, but still in your head, you're like, okay, this is gonna be great.
Do you have work nightmares?
Oh yeah, for sure. No, I've had nightmares. I don't sleep sometimes. Like if we have a high risk flight happening the next day, sometimes I don't sleep, or I'll wake up thinking, okay, I need to check that tomorrow just in case, like come up with different ideas that we should look at and things we should talk about. And yeah, there's some stress to it for sure.
Nicole Denisse, the challenges that you face in your career.
I mean, there's a lot. But I guess the biggest challenge that I had to this day is it don't matter where I go, if I am doing automotive, if I am just selling parts, if I am trying to weld, if I am trying to drift, trying to drag race, it don't matter what I'm trying to do, I will always have somebody tell me, are you sure you know how to do that? I'm like, man, I'm here, ain't I? And if I don't know, I will ask a question. And
you know what? We gotta
answer. I'll find a way. I'll teach myself.
Yeah, I think we got the perfect audience question that came for this or related to that. Has it been difficult for you to work in a male-dominated industry? I personally like the term male-populated because men don't have to dominate. There's just more of them. So there's more male-populated. But anyway, yes, we're definitely going to have that conversation down the road. But since we're here, earlier in the live stream, you already mentioned that guys are like, oh, what's this? I'm not a mechanic. What's this really long thing? And this long name, and you're like, oh, it's the ERT. Did I get that right? Was it the ERT?
Yeah.
Did I remember that correctly?
GR. Dang it. You get there.
I'm learning so much today.
No, but that's actually my mom. So I'll answer that question for my mom.
Yes, supportive mothers.
It is hard but it's not impossible. And it definitely, when I started, I would get a lot of anxiety and I would have a lot of issues thinking, am I doing this right? Or should I even be here? Or should I just go back to filmmaking? And I'm not happy, but you know, there's a lot of more females in what I'm doing. It's hard, but it's not impossible. And I definitely don't let it get to me. It don't matter how old I am. I will always have some guy tell me that I can't do the job. And then there's always going to be me right after showing him that I can't do the job. So I could probably do it the same or even better. It don't matter to me.
I love it. And I hope that anybody who's watching this live or if you're catching the replay, I hope you feel empowered by that. Okay, lightning round question. Favorite ice cream flavor? Nicole Porter, go.
Currently, Blue Moon.
Blue Moon ice cream? Wait,
Yeah,
like the beer Blue
it
Moon?
doesn't taste like beer. No, it's something that I discovered when I moved to Wisconsin. It is delicious. It's almost like an almondy amaretto flavor. It's delicious.
All right. Okay, Amy.
Cookie dough.
Can't go wrong. Nicole?
Cotton candy.
Ooh, classic. Liz?
Cookie dough with chocolate ice cream.
You guys, oh man, I'm partying with you guys. Okay, Liz, what are some of the challenges that you face in your career?
I'm one of very few females in the NASCAR side, especially on the mechanic side. There's about 5 other females that I know of aside from a couple tire changes, but the tire changers don't work on the car. And I'm one of the few female mechanics in the Cup Series, so I'm kind of Lone Ranger. Like my focus on a weekend is a little bit different. Like some of the guys judge a track based on where the garage is laid out. I'm like, I want to know how many bathroom stalls there are because I want to know if the bathroom's going to have one stall and I'm going to have a 20-minute wait or not. And like for us, we travel so much. So another challenge I face is keeping my schedule in order because we're a different town every weekend. So we're flying back and forth. Like I'll be home Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I'll fly out Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, then start all over again in a new city. So I usually don't plan my weeks out more than 2 weeks in advance because I don't know where I'm going to be in 2 weeks, let alone what's going to happen. And the weather is also a big challenge for us because we can't run in the rain at 90% of the tracks we go to. So it's like we're all Tuesday, we're looking on our phone. All right, what's the weather going to be this weekend? Are we going to get rained out? Do we need to pack for 3 days? Like we went to Texas last year and we were there for 5 days. We were only supposed to be there 1 because we couldn't get the race in.
Do you have any general advice for people who may have to travel for work?
Get very good at packing a suitcase and always have like a little goodie bag. Like my backpack I take to the track, I have a bunch of small bags in it. One is like different chargers. Then I've got a little first aid bag with like some Pepto in it and some ibuprofen and some Band-Aids and whatever like random little first aid kit I might need for myself, just so that I don't have to worry about trying to find it. And then I have my own sunscreen and I bring my own water bottle and I have powder packs of Pedialyte. Because when we're outside, we're in pants and a t-shirt. Like we have to wear pants in the garage and then we wear fire suits during the race. Those are triple layer fire suits that weigh 10 to 15 pounds, plus radios, plus helmets, plus head socks, plus Nomex. So it gets hot and it's 12
Plus
hours in the sun.
Plus your 260 pounds worth of tires that you have to push around.
Yeah. And we're out in dead sun. Like we aren't allowed to have tents up during the race. So the only time you are in the shade is if you find a tree or you're hiding behind a box or you're standing in the hauler. So Pedialyte is like my number 1 go-to. I'll drink at least 1 before I go to the track, 1 at the track just to keep me hydrated because when you go down, you have to go to Info Care for 2 bags of IV. They won't let you leave the Info Care Center until you can go to the bathroom.
Oh,
so you
wow.
might be in there 3 hours.
So hydration is like huge for you. Like not just because you're outside in the sun, in the heat for a long time, but also because if you do have to go to first aid, you're kind of effed for like 3 hours.
Yeah, like I posted a screenshot of my Fitbit watch from Darlington last weekend, and I was in an elevated heart rate zone for 6.5 hours straight. So my heart rate was over 90 beats a minute for 6.5 hours straight.
Wow.
And that was from the time I got to the track to the time the race started.
So I imagine health is also a big priority for you because
Yeah.
you don't want to ever have like hypertension. You don't ever want to develop any heart related, cardio related conditions. That's insane. You must burn a ton of calories.
Like 4,000 to 5,000 a day.
All right. Well, you know what that means. That means we need to give you a supportive mother. Love you, Amy. So proud of you. Oh, wait. Dang it. Now we're all named Amy. Dang it. Oh, I'm the worst. Amy, your mom says love you. So proud of you, Mom. Liz, I'm your mother right now. I am so proud of you. Holy cow, you're killing it out there. You're killing it with the travel, with the dealing with the heat. I mean, a lot of people deal with the heat, but the way that you describe it, that's intense work. And being at an elevated heart rate for 6 hours straight, yeah, your job sounds super stressful. And I just never would have thought, oh, wait, this is your mom. There she is. There we go. Whew. Thank you. I am relieved of I'm relieving myself of the duty of your supportive mother now. So this today's live stream is brought to you by Torq'd workwear designed for women by women and also supportive mothers. Thank you, moms. All right. So moving on to my next question. Myth busted. Myth busted. Okay. Now we're going to talk about being a woman in a male populated industry and those types of challenges. So, Liz. Oh, wait, before I go there, let's look at some of these comments. Thumbs up. Hello. Buffering. It's all good. It's all good. There's actually a delay between what you're seeing and what we're saying. It's all good. Me too, 10 years in. Love mom and dad. Supportive mothers. I love it. Well, what do you think is your strongest trait that makes you successful in your field? And another great question is any advice for someone just starting school? Ooh, I love these questions. Let's definitely get to that. Before we do, I want to talk to you about myth busting myths. So Liz, starting with you, is there a myth about women being in NASCAR or being tire specialists or being in the role in mechanics? Yeah, words. I'm the best host ever, you guys. Anyway, what's a myth that you would like to bust?
I get a lot that women can't do tires because of the weight. Like, I'm short. I'm 5'4.5". I like my extra half inch. And I throw the tires higher than most of the guys in the garage. And I'm one of the few out there. Right now, I'm the only female in the Cup Series that does tires. And so a lot of people, they don't believe that I do tires. Like, they'll be like, oh, you must be the PR girl. I'm like, no, I do the tires. I work on the car. And then they see me throw a tire around. They're like, oh, that must be light. I'm like, here you go. Pick it up. Enjoy. And they try to pick it up. And they're like, oh, that's really heavy. It's like, yeah, it's 65 pounds. Even the lighter tires are still 52 pounds. Like, they're still heavy.
Wow. As a rigger, I work with chain motors, and one time I picked one up out of a box, and a guy was like, "Oh, wow, so strong." And I think he was trying to, like, I think in his mind he thought he was complimenting me, but I was like, "Guy, that's I'm sorry, that's not a compliment." The chain motor weighed 25 pounds. So yeah, you throw those 65 pounders all day long, Liz. More power to you. And yeah, that just goes to show, like, yeah, you can be 5'4" and still, like, you've got the strength in you. I think, a lot of women, we are stronger than we may be led to believe. We're stronger than we seem. And Liz is proof of that. All the panelists here are proof of that. Nicole, Denisse, myths that you would like to bust.
So I guess it kind of goes together with what Liz said. It's the weight. A lot of guys say that I can't lift something up because it's too heavy. Like, I ordered my rotors the other day to change my brakes, and the rotors on the Camaros are heavy. They're
Mm-hmm.
heavy, but they're not, oh my God, find me a man to carry them heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And they got here and they were like, no, bring a cart for it. And I'm like, I'm literally just putting them from this cart to this shelf right here. They're not that heavy. I grabbed both of them, 2 boxes, put them, and they were like, Oh my God. And they're pretty heavy. I don't know how heavy they are, but they are probably one of the heaviest rotor I've ever carried. And I've worked on transits and they're heavy, but I think the axle shaft of a transit is heavier than the rotor.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm definitely all about working smarter and not harder and being nice to my lower back and all that jazz. But yeah, if sometimes it is kind of silly. You're like, yes, I can move this thing 6 inches, 1 foot that way. It's all good, guys. It's cool. It's cool.
That's something that I need to tell myself to do, to just work smarter and not harder. But I enjoy proving people wrong. And then after I do it, I'm like, yeah, I probably should have used a cart for that because now my back hurts. But I can still carry it. So there's no problem with that.
Yeah, lift with your legs, not your back.
Exactly.
Yeah. Amy, myths that you would like to bust.
Okay, well, to go off her, basically why I do what I do, where I do it, I've been told my whole life what I can't do. So I make sure that I can do everything that they tell me I can't do, for one. Okay. And then after that, I mean, as I travel a lot for work as well, and I'm the only female mechanic at my company. I'm as well the first female crew chief that has ever been put into our company. That being said, when I go places, a lot of people don't believe that I'm there to be with the aircraft. I'm there to work on it. In fact, they're most of the time just beside themselves that I'm doing anything at all. It's actually entertaining for me, and sometimes I'll actually sit back and let them just go at it and tell all their stories, and then I'll walk up and just handle the situation. Weight is a big thing. We have a lot of ground support equipment that I have to move around and drag around the aircraft, and you learn being a lighter person, you got to work smarter, not harder. Not everything is about just walking in and being Hercules, right? Sometimes you got to think things out and use leverage to your advantage, especially like if you have a big torque wrench you have to get some real torque down on. Maybe I'll use an extension, the correct extension, doing the correct amount of math, but you can do it. Just got to think smarter and work your way around it. I love shocking the guys, and I like proving them wrong, and it's even better when they're standing to the side while I do all the work for them. So I'm proud of it.
Nice. I love it. Nicole Porter. Hey, I'm guessing it's Haley, not Hale. Haley, Brianna says, Nicole Porter, I'll be your supportive mother. You're a badass and I'm so proud of you. Yes, today's live stream is brought to you by Torq'd Clothing, workwear designed for women by women, and supportive mothers. Even the temporary stand-in, on-call, standby, supportive mothers. All supportive mothers. We're very supportive here. So Nicole, talk to me. Talk to us about a myth you would like to bust.
All right, so we'll do a little bit different than the physical aspect, which is a big one. I have been asked if I can lift heavy things in an interview before. That was cool. But I think like the language and the way that guys talk to each other in the shop, it's not going to hurt my feelings. I know when I first started this job, everybody was kind of afraid to say anything around me. They thought I was going to get offended or, report them to HR. And then they realized after the first time I dropped a bolt that I was just as bad or worse than they are. I dropped a bolt off the roof of a truck and said some really not nice things about its mother. And
How big are the bolts? Are they how big are they?
I mean, it was just a little bolt, but I was sitting on a roof of a truck, which was 12 feet in the air, and I was kind of mad about it. I needed that bolt.
Do you guys wear hard hats when you're on the ground? I
had to climb back down and get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it depends on what it is, what it's for. I like obviously the wheel studs and that kind of stuff. They're larger, but most of the bolts and stuff that we deal with are not huge, insanely massive. But
so the guys, they're telling their jokes around you and they're cursing around you. They're not afraid to be themselves around you, given that they're respecting you, of course.
Yeah. I mean, you can't be a jerk, but
that's kind of the spiel that I give guys that I work with is, as long as there's a respect for me and knowing that I'm capable of the job that we are all here to do, you can say what you want to say. It's fine, but there needs to be a level of respect, and that's it. That's all there is to it. And then, when it comes to jokes, I think just know your audience and respect the people you're around. So, and if they say no, then don't say the thing or tell the joke around that person, and it's no big deal.
Right.
But
I always tell them to treat me with the same amount of disrespect that they treat each other, because they don't respect each other. Like, they give each other shit all the time. So
calling each other out and stuff.
yeah.
Yeah. I appreciate that. I appreciate you bringing that other aspect to, the myth busted aspect of our live stream. So, quick word from our sponsor. Y'all, have you ever wondered, like, okay, these pants, they do not have enough pockets. I need to carry tools. I need to carry bolts. I need to carry stuff. I can't have these fake pockets that I can't put things into. I need something durable that if I am going to scrape and slide my booty against something, like, it's not going to break the seam of the pants. It's gonna be abrasion resistance. I need pants. I need good work pants. Okay, well, our sponsor has the answer for you. Torq'd clothing, workwear designed for women by women. Thank you so much for being our sponsor today. Hang tight for like 30 seconds because we got to show you some badass photos. Check this out.
Are you tired of not being able to find work pants designed for women? Well, look no further than Torq'd clothing. Torq'd makes work pants designed for women by women with double knees, extra belt loops, 7 pockets, and made out of a soft poly cotton blend with elastic that is durable and comfortable while still being flattering to the female figure. They will be launching the new version 2 of their amazing pants later this year. Head over to torqdclothing.com and shop their amazing tees and accessories while you're checking out their staple pants. You can find Torq'd gear in NASCAR, NHRA, IndyCar, F1, and many other facets of racing and repair shops all over the U.S. Go follow Torq'd Clothing on the socials to stay up to date on the latest products and when they will have more amazing pants in stock.
Can I also say that the pants look good? Like, they actually, you look good in them. Because I am tired of being in male-populated industries and having to wear baggy shirts, baggy pants that, like, they don't fit me. Like, they just don't. Talking about challenges in the workplace, there's a challenge for you, is clothes that just don't quite fit right. And in my case, sometimes fall protection or personal protective equipment. You guys probably have similar stories. So thank you to our sponsor. And now let's learn, why do you love your job? Why do you love doing what you're doing? What gets you up in the morning? Let's start with Amy. I'm going to go out of order this time.
I love being able to make a difference. I think exploring all these new places and learning so many different things and having my ideas count, having pilots come to me and be like, what do you think about this? And engineers coming out and working side by side and having us work through a problem and redesign something and build it right there on the spot and just go for it. I think it's so exciting to, like, get these opportunities and make a difference, I think that's my favorite part.
Absolutely. And I hope that anybody watching is feeling empowered by that. Nicole Porter, why do you love doing what you do?
I think there's a great deal of satisfaction in taking something that's broken and making it work again. So,
like my mental health.
There's that.
I'm just kidding.
I take a lot of pride in what I do. I know, as far as living in the U.S., 18 wheels are what move this country, and we keep those 18 wheels moving. So there's a lot of pride in that.
Well, if you ever start a company, make that your tagline, please. Because that was perfect. Nicole Denisse, tell us, why do you love doing what you do?
Aside from being my peace, it actually gives me peace to work on a car. Sometimes my anxiety is firing up and probably going to check my oil and realizing that I need an oil change, so I'll do it. It gives me peace. I love it because of that, but I guess what I love the most about it is inspiring other women. I do get a lot of women asking me questions and ending the question with, I asked you because it seems like you know what you're talking about and I don't, and I need somebody that I can trust. And I'm like, precisely, yes, you can trust me because I will forever give you all the knowledge that I have. I will pass it on forward because I learned it from somebody. It's free, and I think education is a right. So everybody should have the access to education. And if I can give it to you, I will give it to you.
Oh man, I love that. I feel empowered by that. Liz, why do you love doing what you do?
There's a lot of reasons. Like, I'm obviously an adrenaline junkie and I like making cars go really fast. And I used to change tires, so I used to play in traffic for years on years on the racetrack. But the fans too, like, it's great building that car from the ground up, seeing it run good, watching it race against other cars. But like that in that commercial, you saw that picture of me next to that little girl. I was at the track doing my job. She came up to me and she was too scared to talk to me. And her dad was like, "Can she get a picture with you?" Like, just asking questions. I was like, "Yeah, sure, you know. Like, what do you want to know?" And like, I talked to her and I helped her mark the tires. And her dad actually had won a contest with the team I was working for a couple weeks earlier. And he emailed the company and was like, that was her best weekend ever. She said it's top 3 things she's ever got to experience in her life, and how thankful they were that I showed her that it's possible. And it's like seeing the little girls at the track that didn't think they could be in the garage, and just giving them that encouragement, or giving them a used lug nut because they treasure it so much. And just seeing the smile you can put on kids' faces just being at the racetrack and acknowledging them. Like last year, we snuck a kid out of the fan zone so we could take a picture with one of the cars. And that kid didn't want to leave the car afterwards. He was like, "Nope, I'm just going to stay right here."
You're a celebrity. You're a celebrity to those kids. And you're a celebrity to me. Okay. Now, next question. Excellent question. I promised that we were going to get to this later in the live stream, and it is now later. Later is now. You are watching now. Do you guys have any advice for someone just starting school? Go ahead and just unmic and just go for it.
Stick it out. Unless you absolutely hate it. If it's something somebody started a rumor or somebody's giving you crap, prove them wrong. I live my life every day proving people wrong, and there's a great deal of satisfaction in that too. But just stick it out.
So wait, my question to you, because your advice is stick it out unless you absolutely hate it, and that's because you absolutely hated the automotive tech side?
Well, it was, I mean, I hated AutoZone, so I left there because I don't like selling parts. But I think that a lot of women are deterred when they start out school because of the way that they're viewed or the way that they're treated or the things that people say. But yeah, I mean, if you go to school and you actually hate what you're doing, then I would say find something different. But if it's something else that somebody's saying or somebody else is affecting, then I would say stick it out, prove them wrong. My experience, I will, I guess, share this. I haven't talked about it too much. When I was in tech school, somebody started a rumor that I was sleeping with an instructor. I was not. It created a world of problems for me. Somebody actually called the police department and threatened my life. And I just stuck it out. And even I proved so many people wrong that I could do it, including my dad, who told me I couldn't do it.
What? And you built cars with him?
Yeah. Yeah, he told me that I wasn't strong enough to be an automotive mechanic, so I became a heavy truck mechanic.
That's funny to me because you used to build cars with him, and it's like, Dad,
Yeah,
you're my instructor. What do you think that says about you? Come on, Dad. No.
right. Yeah, no, there was a lot going on there, but yeah, I think that stick with it. And
I had the
feel like
same rumor was said about me, only not of an instructor, of a manager at a company that I worked for. So I wish I was watching this live stream when I was 19 years old, and I wish I was listening to your words right now, because that was solid advice.
I am going to go by what Nicole also said. And I think one of my best advice could be it's completely okay if you start somewhere and you don't like it and you switch, and you don't like it and you switch, and you don't like it and you switch, and so on. So you switch and you find what makes you happy. Because at the end of the day, I think it's better for us to be happy where we're at rather than making tons of money and not being happy. I've seen many people have a lot of money in their bank accounts and say, I have no idea what to do with it because I am not happy. So switch till you find what you want to do. I started at film, switched automotive, switched racing, switched, and now I'm going to go for welding because I like art, and welding to me is art. So it's whatever. Keep switching until you find what makes you happy.
That's amazing. I can't wait to I'm following you on Instagram and I can't wait to follow that story. That is quite the career shift. I love it. Anybody else? Any advice? Amy, you're unmuted. What advice do you have?
I think if I were you, of course, I'm a hands-on person. Books never really taught me a whole lot. I get frustrated with them. ADD, don't have a lot of patience. But start going around to like the shops and stuff you're interested in. If you're interested in automotive, go knock on some doors and be like, hey, you guys need somebody just like sweep up around the shop or give you a hand to here and there, and then just kind of stick your nose in things and say, hey, what are you doing over there? What are you doing? Do you need help? Do you want an extra set of hands? I'm here. I can help you. And that's a great way of finding out whether you like it or not. And if that's something you're interested in doing, not only that, you're going to learn so much more. Books are a great foundation and you cannot knock that at all. But there are so many little hacks and tricks that you learn on the job and from people that have been doing it for years and ages. Like, you can't replace that. So get out there and just say, hey, I'm here and I want to learn.
Awesome advice. Liz, you're also unmuted.
Like, the biggest thing that I wish people would have told me was just always try. And like, if there's a project and the instructor says, oh, anyone want to volunteer to try first? Do it. Like, worst case, you fail. Okay, you try again. And like, if there's a job you want, send in your resume. Worst case, they say no. Like, it's not the end of the world. Just keep going, keep pushing, and just keep trying to be the person that always is trying to get better. Because if you just sit in the back and don't say anything and don't push yourself, you're never going to see your full potential.
And nobody says you can't apply to the same company twice, or 3 times, or 4 times. Great advice. And Nicole Porter, when you were sharing your advice, Tessa wrote, that is on my mind. Thank you for the encouragement. And Haley wrote, Tessa, you can do this. School can be hard, sometimes tedious, but is so worth it. Thank you all for your encouragement and your advice. Here's another question that came in. Awesome job, everybody. So proud of you, Amy. What is your favorite thing to do on your job? What do you do on your off time? Great question. Off time is important.
Let's see. My favorite thing to do on my job. I like to marshal in the planes when they come back because you know that you just succeeded. They're on the ground, they're safe, and things are just all right in the world. And sometimes I'll dance when I bring them in, just to put a smile on their faces because pilots are way too serious sometimes. And it makes everybody smile. On my off time, oh man, I try to stay busy. I don't like sitting still very long. I think this is the first weekend I've sat around. I got a jet boat that I've been working on. It's got a 502 with the occasional thing here and there I've been working on. Powder coated the nozzle across the back, learned how to powder coat, taught myself how to do that one. That was fun. Dirt bike, street bike, dune buggies. I build them and then I go play on them. It's my favorite thing ever. Just anything with an engine and I'm happy.
Yep. I love it. And you have a DeLorean.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. We've got to save that story for another time. Anybody else? What do you guys do on your off time? Liz.
I have entirely too many hobbies, which sometimes is a problem because I run Torq'd. I'm pretty much the only person that does anything. I do all the shirt designs, I do the accounting, the inventory, but on top of that, I'm also an avid crafter, and I love sewing and quilting. So I end up making like fire suit quilts for my buddies that have been racing for 15 years that have totes full of fire suits. I've made 3 of those so far. I'll make baby blankets out of crew shirts, and I tend to volunteer for a lot of old crafts, and I'm restoring an old sewing machine. It's an old Singer from like 1911. I've got a couple others out in my garage that I've acquired because people didn't want them anymore. And like I've got my first car ever is an 88 Camaro, and it's sitting in my garage here. We shipped it out here from California, and eventually I'm going to fully restore it. It was my grandma's brand new, so it's a very sentimental car to me. I also go to the gun range. I'm a gym junkie. I work out 5 days a week. So I've got a lot of stuff that I do that I probably shouldn't, but the favorite thing I do at work is race. Like, you can spend 60 hours a week building that car, but it doesn't mean anything until you hit the track and you see how well you're doing. So it's like, we'll blood, sweat, and tears in those cars, but then we go out and we perform good, and that makes it all worth it.
You like challenge and you like grit and you like seeing the fruits of your labor. Nice. One of the Nicoles. Nicole 1, Nicole 2. We don't even know which one of you is number 1 or number 2. So like whoever unmics first, what is your favorite part of what you do on your job, and what do you do in your off time? Off time's so important.
Well, I guess my
oh, sorry.
no, you're good. I guess my favorite thing to do at work is really not at work, because I don't do it for now. But whenever I get back to a shop, my favorite thing will definitely be whenever they have the trust to give me an engine teardown. There's nothing that I enjoy more than having an engine completely broken and me having to tear it apart and find what's broken. Because sometimes I will tear an engine open and find a piston looking way worse than a, what's this? Probably like a chicken wing that was in the oven for too long, and it's probably darker than that. And I'm like, oh well, this is a nice piston. And I look at the rest of it, and I'm like, I'm gonna put that down, and just keep finding stuff, and then realizing that maybe I can't fix it, or it needs to be resurfaced, or something as simple as that, or something as, yo, you need a new whole engine. Your block is toast. Just buy something new. And the best part of that is whenever they say, okay, I'm gonna buy everything new, disassembled, and you assemble it, because it's like a puzzle, and I love it.
Nice. Do you ever keep like the parts that are so bad they look like burnt chicken wings, your words? Do you ever keep those parts and like keep them as a memento?
So I have all my bobby pins inside one of my burnt piston heads.
Nice. I love that.
Yeah.
Nicole Porter. Nicole Porter, favorite thing to do on the job, and what do you do with your time off?
So I like doing electrical diagnostics, and a lot of people don't like it. Electrical diagnostics and after treatment diagnostics, I really enjoy. I like actually having to think about something and use my brain. Like the stuff like oil changes that I don't have to think about and I just go through the motions get really old really fast.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing that I think I like the most about my job. I do a lot of shooting in my free time. I used to shoot trap competitively, but then I moved and I don't know anybody that will shoot on a team with me. So currently not doing that. I am also a huge nerd, and I have a huge collection of books. So buying books and reading books, they're two separate hobbies. Trust me.
There you go. There you go. Two separate hobbies. Fiction or nonfiction?
Both. I mostly read fiction because book reading is kind of my escape. But I also have read quite a bit about a lot of nonfiction stuff about World War II and that kind of stuff that I'm actually really interested in. I also read service literature sometimes because
that, you know what, that's important stuff. And technical writing pays well.
Yeah.
Sorry, Nicole, Denisse, I think I cut you off. What do you do in your off time?
Work on cars. I actually don't have a hobby other than, I mean, I play video games, but I play the exact same video game every single night with the same people. And I've been doing that for like over a year. Love it.
Is it Overwatch?
No.
Whoa, you were really passionate about that.
About saying no, yeah.
Whoa.
I tried it.
Okay,
Didn't
no
like it.
Overwatch for you. Got it.
I tried it. Didn't like it. Though I love Symmetra. Everybody says I should cosplay her because apparently I look like her. If I
Mhm.
had the skills to build an armor like hers, I would definitely do it. But I don't have the skills, so you probably never see me in it.
I don't have the skills, but it is one of those hobbies that I would like to get into.
I used
So
to
we all
cosplay,
are.
but kind of like drifted away from it and never did it again. I do miss it, but not so much.
Haley says, hey, I love Overwatch. My boyfriend also loves Overwatch. I've never played it, so.
It's a cool game, but it's not my cup of tea. It's too colorful.
I know the game engine is Unreal 4. I learned that in another live stream. Y'all should follow Industry Explorers. It's my channel. We learn a lot here. Okay, we got another question. What do your significant others, friends, family, others think about what you do? Does your employer have an internship program? Amy's a rock star, proud mother-in-law. Aww. Supportive mothers. Woohoo! Okay, so Amy, let's start with you. What do your significant others think about what you do? Does your employer have an internship program? Great question.
Well, my significant other has to because I got him the job in aerospace, so he's gonna have to deal with it.
Ha!
Nice.
Nice.
I will say, like growing up, I did not have support. My mom would support me, but really, most of my family thought that I was going to be just kind of broke and alone in wanting to work on cars and being a mechanic. And my dad thought it was a waste of time, and I should only be an engineer. If I was going to do it, I should be an engineer, which I hate math, so
Mhm.
that's not going to happen.
Mhm.
And I just kind of kept going and pushed through. And I had so many people tell me in my family and outside that you don't belong here. This isn't what you do. Your life's never going to be easy. Your hands should be soft and smooth, not callous. That's not how women should be. And you just
I
gotta push
love my
past the norm.
calluses. Screw
I
that.
do too. I don't get my hands
Love
cut up when I
it.
pick stuff up. But yeah, I mean, you just push through it. You ignore it because if that's what you want, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. They are nothing, really. Honestly, you make your own future. Um, the internship program, our company does engineering internship. They don't really do shop because you don't have to have previous experience to do composite work. Like if you were trying to be a mechanic, you would start in the composite because they want you to know the base of what we build, and then you work your way up into a mechanic if that's the way you want it to be. But yeah, that's pretty much where I work.
Nicole, how long was your program at is it WyoTech?
Yeah.
Yeah, how long was that program?
So their regular program is 9 months. I did an extra 3 months. I did a Volvo specific course. There was diesel advanced technology. So I did a year, but usually it is 9 months.
So I asked that real quick because if you're thinking, the world talks about business strategy. Why don't we talk about career or school strategy? And I think that if we're talking careers to high school students, maybe we should start looking into those programs that are 2 years or less, get an entry-level job out of that education, and then decide from there, hey, I want to be an engineer. That's a nice, my hands are touching all this stuff. I'm thinking mechanically. It makes sense for me to continue to a 4-year university to become a mechanical engineer. And that's just one of many potential examples, right? But if the math isn't your thing, if, all that's involved in engineering, I'm not an engineer, I don't know. But if that's not your thing, then you've got a stable career as a mechanic, as a technician. All of you ladies, you all seem pretty happy with what you do. You seem very happy, very passionate, very fulfilled. You get to learn so much. You get to prove the haters wrong. You get to empower others. Like, there's so much that I admire about you guys. And you don't have to have an engineering degree to do that if that's not what you want. So I'm going to step off my soapbox now. And Nicole Porter, what did your family think about this path for you. Does your employer have an internship program? I know you mentioned your dad didn't think you were going to make it, even though he was building cards with you. Now that's crazy to me.
My dad wanted all of his kids to go to college and get a 4-year degree, I think was the biggest thing. I think that it was more discouraging me from a technical education, which he's come around on that. To be fair to him, he's definitely come around on that. He does say that he's proud of me now. So I think that it was a big part of, for him at least, thinking that it wasn't a good career choice to be a mechanic, which is false. For anybody who thinks that they can't make any money being a mechanic, that's a lie. Or any trade, really. It really does pay pretty well. So my mom is awesome about it. She brags about me all the time. My sisters brag about me all the time. They think I'm pretty cool. So
I think you're pretty cool too.
Haley happens to be my best friend from high school. So she's also a female mechanic. And I think that I'm a big part of the reason that I'm that she's a mechanic. She had the worst Fox body Mustang ever that we worked on all the time.
She said, OMG, if engineers had to actually wrench, there are so many annoyances that would disappear. Love this idea.
Yeah, engineers.
This is something that I've thought about with my career strategy that I talk about in my content. So, Haley, yes, you and I, let's keep pushing this propaganda. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead, Nicole. I totally cut you off.
No worries. We do offer a internship program. I train a lot of the interns that I work with. They call them my children. So apparently I'm their mother. But...
Supportive moms.
Yes, I do a lot of the help with the training and stuff for the interns. I think it's great. We work with the tech school that's right down the road. I think it's great for students who are in tech school to do an internship where they're actually in the shop working on the stuff that they're learning about in their program at school.
I love that. Love it. Liz, same question to you.
My family is extremely supportive. When I first told my parents that I wanted to work in racing, they were a little hesitant just because it's a big change, but they're like, if that's what you want, we're going to support you 100%. Like, they didn't think twice about it. As soon as I said, yes, this is what I want to do, they're like, okay, let's go. And they go to 3 to 4 races a year. Anytime we go out to Vegas or California, they try to come to the track. Usually that's the only time I get to see them because I'm traveling year round and they still live in California. Both my sisters are really super supportive. My dad has 3 girls in 4 years. I feel bad for him now because that's a lot of women under one household. And my sisters are always bragging on me. As far as significant others go, it's really hard for me because I work with 800 to 1,000 guys. And it takes a very confident man to be okay with that. So I just enjoy my job and I do me. And if they don't like it, then they don't like it. And my team does not offer internships, but a lot of people that get into racing, they will start at like an ARCA team or a truck team as an intern, just a small team, and get experience. Because in racing, it's all about what you know and who you know. And if you walk in the door of a cup shop and say, oh, I'm going to be your underneath guy, but I've never worked on a race car before, they're going to be like, no. Like, you have to have the experience because what we do is so fine and technical, and you need to know what wrenches go where. And when we say, all right, take an 1/8 out of the camber on the right front, they need to know what they're doing, or take a 30-second of wheel spacer off. If they don't know what that is, it's going to slow down the process. And we only get 30, 45 minutes to practice when we do get to practice. So you can't be spending 15 of that trying to figure out how to change a camber shim. It doesn't work that way. So the best internships you can get is through a small team in ARCA or trucks.
Solid. Nicole, Denisse, same question to you.
So I'm very thankful to be surrounded by so many supportive people. Everybody in my family, all my friends, my fiance, everybody around me is very supportive of what I do. So I don't think I've ever had to deal with somebody not being supportive. But aside from that, what was I going with the internship? So AutoZone obviously doesn't offer internships in like shops or anything, but they do offer ASC certification. So if you want to get ASC certified, you could do it through AutoZone. You don't necessarily have to work at a shop or go to school for it. Also, you don't need an ASC certification to work at a shop. So if you wanted to gain experience from the actual job, you can just go apply at any shop, and you could be a loop tech, and you start from there and you watch other people and you learn there. So even an actual job could become an internship if you put it that way.
I love that. Yeah. And I think that kind of goes back to something we talked about briefly earlier. You don't have to like know exactly what you want to do. You don't have to reach out to someone who is like not within your own circle. Like you start with the people you know, you talk to them, you create your own opportunities. The worst thing someone's going to say to you is no. And, you know, if you don't get an internship, you can learn on the job, and there's nothing stopping you from just applying. So speaking of applying, my dog is applying his voice to, I don't know. Can you hear my dog in the background? He's loud and annoying. I apologize. Anyway, he's special. He's my special boy. Bailey says, I've been told girls have a low chance of being hired as mechanics because it's a male-dominated industry. How do you girls get around that stigma? Great question. Who wants to go first?
I guess I'll go first. I've never had, actually, every job that I've applied to, I've got, and it started from a job that I kept for a month to a job that I kept for 2 years. Have I had friends who have applied to other shops or even AutoZone and have got declined? Yes. So I guess I just got lucky. It's not a low chance. It's just, it depends where you apply, and it definitely depends on the area that you're at.
Amy.
So I think in aerospace, honestly, I think it's the opposite because they're looking to diversify their workforce, which is huge. It's really easy to get in. It's harder to get respect. I think that is one thing that all the guys have this feeling that you're going to come in and just stand there and look at them and ask them to do your work for you, which does happen. And there are women out there who have done that, and I've called them out on it. It's makes us all look bad when you do that. I will say it took several years to gain respect of the guys who worked around me. And doing so, I had to work the job of 2 or 3 guys just to keep up and show them that I am capable of doing what needs to be done with or without their approval. But it obviously paid off because look where I am now, and nobody can stop me. I'm just going to keep going, learn what I can, and keep going.
Heck yeah. Crew chief and A&P certified and working on all your toys at home. Liz, you've been unmuted for a while. You want to give some advice on this one?
In racing, it's a little bit harder because it's a man's world. It's all the good old boys that started NASCAR. I got in working at a female-owned truck team. I had emailed a bunch of teams looking for an internship, and Jennifer Jo Cobb owns a truck team. She's like, come on down. Like, I have no problem hiring women. Like, she looks for women that want to work on cars, and she'll teach them and she'll give them an in. So it's like, once I got there, I started building that reputation. But I also have to work 10 times harder than the guys to prove that I belong there, just because of it's 800 guys and there's me. Like, when we're standing in the crowd, I am the only one out of all those guys that has my hair in pigtails or has my hair braids. Like, I'm Lone Ranger out there. I do come across, there's certain teams that they won't hire women because they're a distraction in their mind. So they'll hire them to be in the offices, but they aren't allowed in the shop. And I've worked with NASCAR and trying to break down that barrier, but it's just something that they're old school and they think that all women are a distraction in the shop because there's been that one they've had that caused problems or one that caused HR nightmares. So I work really hard, and then I know what teams respect me, and I've gained a lot of respect in the garage. There's people that know my name in the garage. I have no clue who they are because I have a reputation for being a hard worker. And I also show up a lot of tire guys because I'll work 10 times harder and I'll be running past them with tires and they're just kind of cruising along.
Amy, did you have something to add? Okay.
Sorry, I didn't know I wasn't muted.
Oh, it's all good. Yeah. Yeah, it's fine. I mean, personally, you know, I work in a totally different industry. I work in entertainment. My trade is totally different. I'm a rigger by trade, and everything you guys are saying, same. It happens in all the, you know, other industries as well. Sounds like it's particularly difficult in NASCAR though. But yeah, no, that resonates with me. I have flashbacks to my early career days thinking about, you know, having to prove myself and having to work 10 times harder, because the moment you give someone a reason to doubt you, that's it. That's all they need. Whereas other people, they get multiple chances before they are doubted or before they're told, yeah, you can't, we're not going to call you back. So, Bailey, I hope that this has answered your question, and I hope that the answers have been both empowering, and I also hope that the rest of this live stream empowers you to go off into the world and do whatever it is that you want to do. So good luck to you. If anybody has any other questions, you're totally welcome to use the comments section to ask more. We got a comment. I've been saving this one for a while. Nicole was my first teacher about anything car related. She is 1000% the reason I decided I could turn wrenches. She was the reason I knew I could survive in the male populated field. Her dad and my dad are really similar. He wouldn't teach me because it wasn't a woman's job. There you go. We all have very similar experiences in that regard. So, you know what? Round of applause to all of us. And let's do a rapid fire question just to kind of break up the seriousness of what we've been talking about. Let me find a really good one real quick. Oh, here's one from the list. It's not even a quick fire question because we could go deep into this topic. But let's just keep it simple. Yes or no? Are women complicated? I love Amy. Amy, I love your face. You're like, that's just a misogynistic question. Everyone's complicated. The human brain, actually not just the human brain, any brain is complex. The more folds you have in the brain and the bigger the prefrontal cortex, yeah, the more complex or complicated you're gonna be. Amy, that's what I saw in your face just now. Let me ask a different, more funny question. Have you ever slapped someone in the face?
Yes.
Yep.
No.
Unintentionally, but yes, full hand.
Wow.
I've never slapped anyone, but I did punch a kid right in the nose once for telling me that I couldn't play with cars because I was a girl. It was like 3rd grade.
3rd grade. Oh. Have I slapped anybody? I don't think I've really slapped someone, but I've fractured a kid's ribs because he called my friend a fat ass. And I said, don't you ever say that to my friend again. Huh. My cousins taught me how to knock the wind out of someone, and that's what I was going for. But I also fractured a rib, apparently. So cool. We are all violent, apparently. You guys are awesome. All right. Next question. Preferred or favorite footwear for working in a shop? Nice. Liz.
Since I'm at the track and I'm walking 10 miles a day, I go for Under Armour shoes because they have a soft sole on them. Or no, normal full year, I'll burn through 5 pairs in one season because I could be walking anywhere from 15 to 40 miles a weekend. And that's just at track. Luckily, there's an Under Armour outlet not that far from me, so I get them for half price.
Yeah, you personally should be sponsored by Under Armour. Nice. Liz, do you ever have to wear composite toe or steel toes?
We don't, but we do have SFI shoes that if you go over the wall during the race, it has to be SFI certified, which is just a fire rating. You have to be shoes, fire suit, and then you have to have Nomex underneath that's from neck to wrist to ankle, plus a head sock, and that's just to protect you. We had a fire a couple years ago on pit road, and it ended up burning through the fire suit, and the kid had one of those like stretchy, stay dry shirts underneath his fire suit, and it melted to his back because of how low of a flash point it is. So they started enforcing the Nomex, which it only gives you 2 to 5 seconds if you do get caught on fire. But he also freaked out and he took off running down pit road when he was on fire. And someone ended up tackling a couple pit stalls down, and that's how they put him out. But it burned his back pretty good. So we have very strict SFI rules on what we have to wear, but majority of the people in the garage wear Under Armour shoes or Adidas, whatever's comfortable. There's some that wear Converse, which I love Converse, but I could not wear them for 12 hours a day on my feet.
Yeah. Okay, so with the SFI rated shoes and having to wear your fire resistant clothing, do you also have to have like cotton undergarments? Do they also specify that? Because like you said, if you're wearing like any like the synthetic materials, that stuff will melt on you. Does that also include like bras and underwear?
They don't enforce the undergarments. All they care about is the one layer underneath the fire suit.
Okay.
Like I was working with the company that was manufacturing fire retardant sports bras, but they were having such a hard time with production after COVID hit with getting the fabric and getting it produced that they've had to kind of downgrade it.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of drivers that have the extra knowledge base because they're well educated themselves that they will only wear cotton underneath because they know cotton has such a high flash point that the cotton is almost safer than the Nomex because Nomex gives you 2 seconds. And if they can't get to you in those 2 seconds, if you have cotton underneath the Nomex, you got that little bit extra time.
Wow. Okay. So, Nicole, Amy, or Nicole, do you guys have a preferred or favorite footwear?
I go to Big Five and I buy whatever's cheap and lightweight because working around jets, I mean, you get jet fuel, you get hydraulic fluid. I walk nonstop all day long, chasing things down, lifting things. I got to have grip because I climb on top of the aircraft a lot. Like, you don't want to fall off sliding. Converse look cool, but they don't hold on. Promise you that. But yeah, honestly, I just go through them so fast. I'm with you, I go through 6, 7 pairs easy every year. Probably more than that, honestly. They don't last very long. So, I mean, cheap, easy, lightweight, and comfortable is mandatory. I get lucky, like in my place in aerospace, I don't have to have a steel toe or composite toe, which some places do require it. So I could only imagine trying to clunk around on top of an aircraft wing with steel toe and boots on.
I used to do cheap from Walmart, like $30 steel toe boots. I don't recommend that. I decided I gave myself like a $300 budget to buy something from Red Wings. I went to that store, tried on a couple pairs, ended up buying Irish setters. They were on sale, got them for less than $200, and that's what I use for climbing around and rigging. So that's the opposite end of the spectrum. I have the flashbacks right now to I bought like a $30 pair from Walmart, and I had an overnight shift that was 16 hours long. And just at halfway through the shift, I was like, I cannot do that. I am done with these shoes. I cannot do this. It's awful. Anyway, so Nicole or Nicole, Nicole or Nicole. We're all Nicole here.
So I'm required to wear safety toe boots at work. I go with either Ariat or Timberland generally. I'm the same way as you. I buy expensive boots. I will not go cheap on boots. They generally last me about a year if I'm lucky. But I've walked the soles off of work boots before and had to get the soles replaced. So Other than that, yeah, we are actually required to wear 100% cotton uniforms at work. They don't say anything about undergarments either, but because our shop has petroleum tankers in it and we work on natural gas trucks, we have to wear 100% cotton, which sucks during the summer. I can't imagine having to wear a full fire suit. Like, I would die.
I just buy whatever is cheap and comfortable, honestly. Because like I go through them so quick that whatever is cheap, I put it on my feet and feel comfortable.
We're half and half here. I see how it is. All right. Awesome, you guys. Let's see. I don't think we have any more. I don't think I missed any other questions. Whoops. Sponsor time. Sorry, that was earlier. I'm looking at the earlier comments and making sure I didn't like, oh, here's one. Someone asked, what do you think is your strongest trait that makes you successful in your career? Sorry, I said that so weird. Successful. If you ever watch 30 Rock, there's like a whole scene where the actress in the show is like, camera. I'm getting ready for the camera. Yeah, I have moments like that too. So anyway, what is your strongest trait that makes you successful in your field? Liz.
For me, it's how hard of a worker I am and the fact that I'll do any job necessary. Like when we're at the track, like if we have a rear end seal go out, gear oil goes everywhere and no one likes the smell of gear oil. I don't care who you are, it's disgusting. And when we lose the seal, it goes all in the crush panels, all over everything, and I'll be the first one to climb under there and start cleaning it. Like it doesn't faze me to get covered in grease and oil, and some other people hesitate. So when people see that, they see more of, oh wow, she will do anything, because I'll go from tires to cleaning the car to fabricating something all in one day at the track. And that's not something a lot of tire people do because it is a specified thing. Like not everyone can do tires. It's not easy, it's not fun, it's brutal most weeks. So a lot of tire specialists don't do anything else, but I'll do everything.
Nice. You're versatile. Amy, Nicole, or Nicole, or Nicole, or Nicole, or Amy.
I guess everybody says I have strong character, so I guess it would be that. I have a lot of people outside trying to push me down and trying to tell me that I can't do it and that I'm never going to have my own shop and that I'm never going to this and that. And I think the best thing that I can do is prove you wrong. So if you tell me I cannot lift this tire, I will lift that tire and the other one. If you tell me that I am not going to have my own shop, I'm going to have 2 shops. If you tell me I can't have 2, I'm going to have 3. Trust me. Somebody told me I couldn't have a Camaro, I have 2. So if you tell me I can't do something, I will do it twice. And that has brought me places.
You're tenacious and you have grit. Amy or Nicole?
I have to second the work ethic. I've had the same thing said. It doesn't matter what you're doing or what your title is. You're there to get a job done. You're all a team. If something's falling behind, you step in, you take care of it. And I've had so many people say you are so willing to get dirty and do the crap jobs. It doesn't faze me at all. It's a job. You're paid by the hour, for one, and for two, we're a team. We're here to make something succeed. And my title isn't going to stop me from doing that. You got to work hard. You got to put your head down. You got to work the extra hours. You got to go travel if that's what's necessary. You just got to make it happen. But then also be stubborn. Don't let anything beat you. Like, you are capable of doing anything. It's just taking a little extra time to slow down and figure it out.
I love it. Nicole.
All right. I think that one of my strongest traits is my desire to learn. I always want to know more. So what got me into the field, I wanted to take things apart and learn how they worked. And even to this day, I want to learn how something works before I try to fix it. So I have a lot of knowledge to draw from. I know we've talked a lot about how physically demanding our jobs are. And I can do the physical part of it. It's not, to me, that big of a deal. But I will never be able to compete with the guys that I work with in strength. I'll never be as strong as they are. That's just the way it is. But I can know a lot more than they do.
I love it. Here's one that came, a question that came earlier in the live stream. I promised I would get back to it. How do you guys overcome the frustration from being underestimated constantly? Personally, I talk to my boyfriend. I like his validation. That's it. Or my friends. I like to tell my friends my stories of frustration. And then I remember, I go to therapy and I'm like, all right, cool. Let's remember our worth. Let's remember that, here's another thing that popped into my head. I was reading a forum and this commenter kept popping up and it was nothing but negative comments. And I clicked on the profile because I'm like, what is this person's deal? Oh my God, they're so negative. And on whatever forum it was, that profile had made 40,000 comments. And I'm like, I don't even know that I've made 40,000 comments on social media my whole life. Like, okay, let's put this into perspective. I've got better things to do than worry about this person and be frustrated by their negativity. So I think for me personally, it comes down to perspective, knowing your worth, seeking validation. I don't think it don't depend on validation, but there's nothing wrong with, having someone go, yeah, I get frustrated by that too. Cool, sweet. All right. Nicole, you are unmuted. Actually, almost everyone is unmuted. So who wants to answer this?
It don't matter.
Just start.
I guess I talk to people. I just vent. Sometimes I talk. Sometimes I scream. Sometimes you'll see me throw something or break something. But then after I did that, I'm like, okay, there. I feel better. Let's go grab something to eat.
Catharsis.
I just prove them wrong. You don't even got to look at them. You just keep going on right past them. They're so minuscule in your life. You're going to forget about them in the future anyway. Honestly, just keep going on. Prove every little bit that they think is wrong. Because all that matters is that you can do it, right? And you can. Whether they think you can or not.
I love it. Just remember Amy's voice in your head anytime you're getting frustrated by someone underestimating you. Remember all of our voices in your head. Liz.
For me, I always remember there's this girl, Lisa. She's been at Hendrick Motorsports for 20 years. She was one of the first female tire people, like, in the history of NASCAR. She's a legend in the tire pile. She told me that anyone that underestimates you is just intimidated by you. So you can't let them control you or frustrate you. You just have to prove them wrong. And I always remember that, like, whenever someone's like, oh, you can't do that, I just prove them wrong and I don't even acknowledge them. And it actually makes them more mad, which I find extremely entertaining when they start, like, blowing a gasket because I proved them wrong and didn't even acknowledge that it fazed me. And, like, my biggest secret, which some of my friends know it, like, if I get really frustrated, like, it's just been one of those weeks, there's this place in Salisbury that's like 45 minutes from me, and they have a rage room, which not a lot of people know about them, but it's a gallery. So it's an art gallery that has a paint booth in the back that has a wall full of wheels, and you go in, you get a box of beer bottles, plates, cups, you turn your music on, and they just give you 45 minutes to yourself in the paint booth with all this glass, and you throw the bottles. And you can write on them, and it's a place called Grievous Galleries. So they're very much into releasing your frustrations in a way that's safe, because you can't cut yourself doing that unless you decide to go over the wall that you're not supposed to go over. So that's like my fail safe if it's just been one of those weeks that everything isn't going right for me.
Okay. I'm sensing a theme. Everyone here has slapped someone or hit someone before. And a couple of us like to rage when we're frustrated. Rage safely is what I say. Eat your vegetables and rage safely. That's what my mom always said. Nicole Porter.
I've been told my whole life that violence is never the answer, but I have solved a lot of problems in my life by hitting things with hammers. So there's that. I spent a good part of the day on Thursday swinging a 13-pound sledge with a 3-foot handle. That helps with frustration. That's better than any anger management class ever. That was for work too. I get paid to do that. It's kind of fun. As far as people underestimating me, when I first started, I would get so mad and so frustrated and let it ruin my day. And I'm at the point where it just doesn't even bother me anymore. If you want to argue with me, if you want to tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about, I'll just walk away and go back to doing my work. And if you want to come back and ask me for advice again, that's fine. I will tell you what I know. And if you don't believe me, then that's your problem and not mine. I put it onto the other person.
Yeah.
It's your problem.
Right. Yeah.
It's not me.
And it certainly it definitely takes practice to get to that sort of mindset. So if you're ever frustrated in the moment, think that it's an opportunity for you to practice to be as zen about it as Nicole. So
it
there
took
you go.
years because I've been doing this for 14, 15 years. So it took a long time.
So we have 2 more questions that I have not had a chance to get to just yet. But before I do, I want everybody to unmic. This is another rapid fire question, but I'm going to have everybody answer all at the same time. Okay. You ready? What is your favorite holiday? 3, 2, 1.
Halloween.
Yeah, we were talking about that prior to going live, so we've all got something in common. It's quite nice. Okay, second to last question. Does your employer provide all your tools, or do you have your own tools to do your job? Is there any special tools you need for your jobs? Great question. Nicole Porter, you are unmuted. You want to start this one off?
I've never had an employer provide any basic tools. So all of my basic tools, my wrenches, that kind of stuff, I have a toolbox. Specialty tools, generally they will provide stuff like that. As far as what we need for specialty tools, it really depends on what you're doing. There's specialty tools for engine work. There's specialty tools for transmission work. Generally, your employer provides that kind of stuff.
Liz.
For us, we have a track toolbox, which goes to the track with us. It's fully loaded, like to the brim. People that see them are very jealous because you've got everything DeWalt in there: chargers, impact saws, bit drivers, drilled, everything. And then at the shop, we don't use the track toolbox. My guys sometimes will get into it, and I will lock it immediately and hide the key, because as a tire person, I'm responsible for the toolbox. And if I have to go hunt down tools, I get really aggravated, because we all each have our own toolboxes that we use at the shop, that we supply ourselves, which mine's cheetah print, so the guys stay out of it. But like for me, specialty tool wise, at the track, I have tire gauges, I have a tire roller, I have stagger tape, I have tread depth gauge, a couple specific things, and that's a team provided thing. The gauges and the stagger stuff, it's very expensive, so the team keeps those. But like when it comes to building the cars, we use our own tools. We only have the stuff at the track for the rest of it, just because that's something we use when we're traveling, and we aren't going to all bring our little toolboxes.
That makes sense. Nicole or Amy, you have unmuted. Go for it.
Yeah, they don't. We do have a tool crib at our work. They have a lot of specialty tools. Like if you have to set certain things, they do have tools, but they're like Harbor Freight special tools. So obviously we don't touch them. They don't even have enough to actually stock all of us with. So every one of our mechanics, we have our own box with our own set of tools, which costs a lot to get going because they are all high-end tools. We have specialty tools, like I have high pressure gauges and stuff that I have to buy because they do buy them at work and then people drop them and they're no longer good anymore. Torque wrenches, you can't trust shop torque wrench because most people, one, don't know that they need to zero them, and two, drop them, which automatically makes them go out of cal. So we have to spend a lot of money making sure that we get the airplanes together correctly and safely.
Do you get reimbursed for that anytime you have to pay for those specialty tools?
No.
Are you at least writing it off on your taxes?
I do try to.
Liz, yes.
sometimes.
Amy, you got to start writing that off.
I know, I need to keep track. It's one of those things, you go on the truck and then all of a sudden you don't have any money anymore. I don't know how it works.
Yeah. Nicole, Denisse?
So no, actually the shops don't supply any tools. You usually have to bring it yourself. I got lucky on my last shop and they did supply me like a basic car, have basic stuff. And it worked fine for the time that I was there. They do supply the torque wrenches because yes, they need to be calibrated. And yes, you have your own with your name because if you drop it, it's on you. But that's the only thing that they would supply, just the torque wrench. And because they need to make sure that they are calibrated every single time that they need to be calibrated. But that's pretty much it. Otherwise, you have to bring your own tools, get your own stuff. And if you want good stuff, you got to pay for it.
Gotcha. So most everybody has said that your employer does not supply you with your tools, at least not the basic ones. And in many cases, they will pay for the specialty tools, but maybe don't always rely on a shop torque wrench. So that's what I've learned. I hope that answers your question. Labrador Lover. Ah, what a nice name. Perfect name. And last question, what are your schedules? How many hours do you work in a day and are you hourly or salary? That's a great question. So, and Liz, let's just start with you because you are constantly on the road. You're constantly traveling. You're home Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, sometimes Thursday.
Pre-COVID, I traveled a lot more, but with the restrictions, we stopped practicing as much. So I'll give you a pre-COVID schedule and then a current one. We're all salaried, and then most teams will do overtime, but it's half pay because we're classified as entertainers, so we fall under a different tax bracket. So instead of getting time and a half, it's actually half pay, which doesn't always work out in our favor. But we would work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday until we loaded, which could be 10 in the morning, could be 8 o'clock at night. But every shop's different. Most shops will work an 8-hour day or a 9-hour day, take an hour lunch, and it's 40 hours a week before you go to the track. So we would fly out Thursday. We'd be at the track Friday for 8 to 10 hours, depending on what NASCAR tells us we have to do. Saturday, 8 to 10 hours. Sunday, 8 to 10. Then after the race, we would go to the airport, get on the plane, fly home. Because we travel the way we do, we fly on regional jets that are all privately chartered just for NASCAR. So within 2 hours of a race ending, we're on that plane and we're heading home, which most people don't know. They think we all fly commercial. Some teams do, but when you have 1,000 people, you can't exactly fly everyone commercial, and it's cheaper for us to fly the regional jets. We don't have TSA. We don't have all the regulations because we do fly parts and tools often, or like we'll fly a seat if something happens to a driver after the car gets loaded and we have to change a seat in the car. So it's easier for us, especially with pit equipment too, with the jacks and the impacts and the pit road guns. And with my schedule now, because we went to one-day shows with COVID, it's Monday through Friday. I work 7:30 to 4. I get a half-hour lunch. And then if I go to the track, like I did last week, I flew out 9 a.m. Saturday morning, worked all day. I got home last night at 2 a.m. I'm off today, and then tomorrow I'll be back at the shop at 7:30. And that's a typical week. Like, we'll work 40 to 60 hours.
I'm honored you're spending your off time here with us today and sharing all of this insight. Yeah, I had no idea you guys used chartered flights and that you traveled so often, or that you were considered entertainers. In a sense, you also are in the entertainment industry, and that just warms my heart.
Yeah, we are very unique in our traveling, and we travel an average of 40 weeks out of the year. So we are constantly gone.
Jeez. Wow. Okay. Well, if you're looking for a career change, you could, not you, but maybe someone who is traveling a lot in NASCAR, and you could travel, you could go on a tour for a concert. Some tours last a long time. Or you could be a wind turbine technician and travel like nonstop. There's a lot of traveling jobs. So I feel like another good panel would be getting different, people who are in different roles, who are like travel techs in a sense, but in different industries. I think that would be quite an interesting panel to have, and to talk about, like, what do you do for fitness? What do you do for nutrition? How do you cope with like being on your feet all day and staying hydrated and all of that jazz, and having hobbies? And yeah, Liz, thank you so much for sharing that with all of us. Amy, since we are talking about airplanes and travel, what is your schedule like?
Well, the company advertises that we work 9-hour days with every other Friday off, but it really depends. I mean, it's like I said, if what the work needs to be done, it needs to be done. Everything's on a schedule, everything's on a time. I mean, I have been lucky, and I can say we're paid in 2 weeks at a time, and I'm hourly, and I think the worst paycheck I've ever had is 130 hours. And that was rough for me. I thought I was dying. The guys have had worse, I'm sure, but like I was over that pretty quickly. Um, and it's not always the best times. Like, you'll work till midnight, go sleep in your car, and come back in as soon as you can to keep going, right? It's really dependent. I think that's kind of everywhere in aerospace. When I travel, I've traveled and had to work really crazy hours over just anywhere, anytime. Just call you and be here now. It's fun though. Travel is always fun because it's never predictable.
Since your husband is also in the aerospace industry, do you guys work for the same company, and do you get to travel together?
We work for the same company, and we try not to travel together.
Oh, there you go. Fascinating. What's the longest time that you guys are apart from each other when either of you is traveling?
We try to keep it to 2 weeks. I've been about 2.5 weeks. That after that, you just start getting bored and crabby at everybody. Just, I want to
Yeah.
come home. I want to see my dog. Let me go.
Mm-hmm. Are you also a Labrador lover, or what breed is your dog?
I have 2 little Chihuahuas. They're perfect backpack size. They ride the street bikes with me and go on the jet skis and in the boat.
How did I not know? You are a Chihuahua cherisher. Got it. Nicole Porter, what is your schedule like?
I work 4/10, so I have a little bit of a weird schedule. I work for a 24-hour shop. We're open 365 days a year. So whatever holidays fall in my schedule, I work holidays, I work weekends, I work every other weekend. Some of our guys work 3/12s, but it's not too bad. We get plenty of overtime whenever we want. We're busy. We're always busy. Truck drivers are the masters at breaking things, so we never run out of stuff to fix.
Gotcha. Nicole, Denisse, what's your schedule like?
So I work an average of 50 hours a week, Monday through Friday, and that's just working on AutoZone. Aside from that, if I'm fixing a car or something, then add to that the amount of hours that I have to put into that. So I have no idea how much I really work every week.
Are you hourly or salary?
Hourly.
Hourly. Nicole Porter, are you also hourly? Okay. Amy, did you say you were hourly or salary?
Hourly.
Hourly. Okay. Okay. So Liz, you're the only one on salary. Fascinating. I honestly was expecting everyone to be hourly. So the more you know. Awesome. I just muted myself. That was silly. Do you hear the motorcycle going in the background? That was awesome. Just perfect timing. Thank you. Thank you for doing that during my live stream. All right, everybody. I've got to wrap this up. We've been going for over 2 hours. I try to keep this to 2 hours, but you guys have such great things to share with us. Thank you guys for watching this live stream and asking all of your awesome questions, and also for all the supportive moms out there. Thank you guys for shouting out and all your supportive friends. Thank you everybody for supporting everyone on this panel. If you would like a part 2 to ask more questions, let me know. Let Industry Explorers know. We might just have to do that because I know we couldn't get to every single question here tonight. So we'll see if we can make that happen. Bailey says, thank you girls so much for being so empowering and inspirational. Keep up what y'all are doing. Bailey, best of luck to you and good luck in school. Everybody here has an Instagram account if you guys want to share what your handles are, so that if you guys want to ask more questions or if you want to follow these ladies, you can do so on Instagram. Nicole.
Yeah, sorry, mine is cut to impress.
Rock Drake is asking for a part 2. Ooh, who else wants a part 2? Let us know. Let us know. Yes, I have everybody's Instagram handles memorized. Nicole Porter. That's this lady right here to my immediate on the screen. It's my right, but in reality, it's my left. Anyway, cut_to_impress. Amy's is built_by_a_girl. Nicole Denise's is hot.and.wheels with a Z. And Liz Prestella's is Tire Girl. Is it Tire Girl or Tire.girl? It's just Tire Girl, right? Yeah. All right. Follow these ladies on Instagram. And I would like to remind everybody that today's live stream was sponsored by Torq'd Clothing, workwear designed for women by women. Visit www.torqdclothing.com. Workwear designed for women by women. Liz is the owner of the company, you guys. You saw how great she looked in those photos, and she knows what she's talking about. So go check out Torq'd. And if you would be so kind to subscribe to Industry Explorers, then you will be notified if there's a part 2. Follow Industry Explorers on social media because I will announce when we do a part 2, because we are getting some compliments. People are asking for a part 2, so ask and you shall receive. All right, everybody. Thank you so very much once again. And until next time, Explorers, I will see you on our next adventure. Take care.